Part 37. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun Jeong. Chapter 361. The late autumn sunset hangs in the sky. Its light is no longer dazzling, but becomes soft and warm. The afterglow dyes the sky orange-red, intertwined with the golden color of autumn. A commercial vehicle parked outside the alley. A middle-aged man looked at the handsome young man approaching. There is a calmness in his demeanor, which makes people feel close to him involuntarily. The smile is also so warm and sincere, as if it can dispel all the gloom. Lin Xian was surprised when he saw him. Because his sister's grandfather Mu Lao called him and said that someone wanted to see him. I originally thought it was a big boss who wanted to see him, but I didn't expect it was a middle-aged man. Hello. Lin Xian smiled, I am Lin Xian. Hello. The middle-aged man stretched out his hand and smiled, my name is Wang He. The two shook hands. Is something wrong? Lin Xian asked with a smile. There is a big question mark in my mind, and I am wondering who the other party is. But it was scary to have Mu Lao call him personally. Someone wants to see you, Wang He spoke softly. Can you not go? Lin Xian smiled and tested it. Probably not possible. The middle-aged man answered with a smile. While speaking, he winked at Lin Xian. It's like an elder watching over a naughty child. Oh well. Lin Xian wanted to show off, but he didn't dare. The two got into the car. Before getting in the car, Lin Xian took a look at the license plate. The corners of his mouth began to twitch crazily. That license plate is scary. The commercial vehicle drove away. Then, Lin Xian went to a place and changed into a set of regular clothes. Meeting an old man who made his scalp tingle. I also met my grandpa and even Mu Lao. The three old men didn't speak, they all looked at him with smiles. Then, he was given a medal. At the same time, Lin Xian's military rank promotion was announced. Lin Xian came with a numb scalp and left with a shocked look on his face. On the way home, his heart was still pounding. He reached out and touched the epaulets on his military uniform. Colonel. Lin Xian's hands began to tremble a little. The military rank of senior colonel is quite special in the world. Most countries do not have this military rank. In the Dragon Kingdom Army, it is also a very special military rank. If you have to make a comparison. This military rank also has a nice name, Brigadier General. He belongs to the kind of person who steps into the general threshold with half a foot. But he is still a school officer. And just this half step may be able to stop many soldiers. As long as you take this half step, you will become a real general. This is the real 3 levels in a row. Lin Xian took a deep breath. From major to senior colonel, this kind of promotion. He no longer knew how to describe it. But these were not what shocked Lin Xian the most. At this time, looking at the exquisite metal box in his hand, he was stunned. Until I got home and got out of the car. I saw the Mu sisters at the entrance of the courtyard. Lin Xian slowly came back to his senses and looked at them with a complicated expression. When Mu Qingjian and Mu Qingtian saw their brother's military uniform and the epaulets on their shoulders. Very surprised and frightened. Because the 2 cents and 4 on the epaulets are so recognizable. 22-year-old army colonel. If it was in the old days, it might not be a big deal. After all, there were 16-year-old generals in that era. But what era is it now? A 22-year-old school officer can scare many people, let alone a senior colonel. What frightened them even more was that Lin Xian had been promoted to 3 levels in a row this time. What kind of thing did you do, and what contribution did you make to the country? The 2 sisters are not stupid at all, but are extremely smart. How could you not guess it? When they saw Lin Xian walking up to them. I saw the metal box in my brother's hand. The expression changed again. The metal box this time is different from the one used by Lin Xian when he received medals in the past. The craftsmanship is so fine and exquisite that people dare not touch it easily for fear of destroying the perfection. However, the box has a strong military color. There is also a lifelike star carved on the top. Red 5-pointed star. Lao Wu and everyone in the security squad have already lined up. The dozen or so male and female soldiers and guards had complicated expressions. All eyes fell on Lin Xian's shoulders. Then their eyes also looked at the metal box in Lin Xian's hand. Raise your hands and salute. Lin Xian looked at them calmly and handed the metal box to his sister. Return gift. Back house, living room. The three siblings were all looking at the metal box. Lin Xian and Mu Qingjian looked at the nervous Mu Qingtian and opened the wooden box carefully. A gold-red medal is placed on a red brocade cloth. The main chapter has a diameter of 65 mm and is composed of elements such as the military emblem, the big red star, and the Great Wall. There is even a red 5-pointed star on the gold-red ribbon that hangs the medal. The two sisters covered their mouths and exclaimed, "Order of the Red Star." It's also a first-level Red Star Meritorious Medal of Honor. Why were they so shocked? Because since the founding of the Dragon Kingdom, there are only more than 800 people who have been awarded the Order of the Red Star. However, this kind of merit medal has two levels. And those who have won the first-class Red Star Medal of Merit, there are only more than 200. This is from 1937 to 2016. Nearly 80 years. One of the top 3 honorary titles in the Dragon Army. As long as the August 1st does not come out, it is the King. Night. The three sisters and brothers are not sleepy, maybe they are too excited. They are like little hamsters snuggling on the sofa, watching TV, eating snacks, and smiling foolishly. The two girls are happy for their younger brother. Lin Xian is also happy that he has won another top honorary title. As for military rank, compared with the medal, it can basically be ignored. Because from today on, his name will not only be engraved in the Dragon Kingdom's merit book. Similarly, it can also be engraved on the merit wall in the army. He has kept up with the footsteps of countless predecessors and has not fallen behind. Soon, Lin Xian held his two sisters in his arms and muttered to himself. The Mu sisters laughed dumbly and leaned on his arms. You say he is stupid, but he has solved countless cases and is so smart that he is almost a demon. You say he is not stupid. They have followed him and don't care about the so-called formal marriage. Mu Qingtian has reminded him more than once that she is willing to be a mistress. But Lin Xian is just stubborn and more stubborn than a donkey. He wants to give them a name and formal marriage. No matter how you look at his brain, he is pure and a little sick. But how many women see such a man, making a fuss in the heavenly palace and coming on colorful clouds? Don't go crazy for him, don't be obsessed with him, and don't want to give his whole life to him. They are close to each other, as if they are warming each other. Unconsciously. The morning light outside the window gently emerges in the sky. When the first ray of sunlight in the morning shines through the window, brushing every corner of the living room, there are sweet smiles on the faces of the three siblings. In the warmth and tranquility, they fall asleep deeply. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun Zhong. Chapter 362. A commercial vehicle drove into a certain compound. For the first time, Lin Xian felt the difference in De Yuan. Because the compound in front of you has a strong military flavor. The commercial vehicle drove for about 10 minutes. Stopped in front of a small building. Simple, clean, and seemingly ordinary. A middle-aged general stood at the door early. Beside him stood a group of laughing middle-aged people. There were soldiers, ordinary people, and some middle-aged women. When Lu Yunqing got out of the car. Sister. Lu Xingguo grinned. Lu Yun gave him a clear look and looked at the group of middle-aged people. Sister. Everyone cheered happily, with joyful smiles on their faces. Lu Yunqing looked at them quietly, his thoughts returning to his childhood. Thinking of the group of little guys following her in the compound. There was mist in her eyes. Lin Xian and the Mu sisters looked at the group of uncles and aunts. Watching my mother and those old sisters hug each other. Like the moon held by the stars. For the first time, Lin Xian believed that his mother was a school bully in the past. Not only was he a school bully, he must have been a minor bully in a certain military region at that time. At the same time, I also saw some uncles and dads hugging, laughing, and smoking. At this moment, they were like a group of children. It seems to be telling some kind of lost youth. A girl of 17 or 18 years old stood at the entrance of the courtyard, looking at them curiously. The girl looks very much like her mother, but more like her brother-in-law. Lin Xian waved to her. The girl ran over and shouted sweetly, "Brother." Lin Xian's heart was touched. He reached out and touched her head, "Be good." The girl looked at the Mu sisters again, smiled and shouted, "Sister-in-law." The second girl, Sci-Fi, pressed her cheeks and took the girl's hand. Mu Qingtian took off a bracelet from her wrist and put it on the girl. Mu Qingjian also took out a card and put it in the girl's hand. "Thank you, sister-in-law," the girl thanked her with a sweet smile. Although the Mu sisters were a little shy, they were smiling from ear to ear. I was elated to be called sister-in-law by these two calls. Those uncles and aunts are gone. Mom walked into the courtyard with her head raised. Everyone followed her. In the courtyard, an old couple was standing there. When I met Lu Yunqing, the old lady cried immediately, took 2 steps quickly, grabbed Lu Yunqing, slapped her hard twice on the buttocks, and cursed, "You cruel thing." Lu Yunqing's eyes were red, he hugged his mother and cried bitterly. The old lady hugged her daughter and burst into tears. Lin Xian saw his grandfather turn his head. I saw the mist in his eyes. Soon, the old man's expression became calm and indifferent again. In fact, Lin Xian can understand him very well. His status does not allow for the love between his children. He was not allowed to show too much emotion. No mistakes are allowed. Sometimes you say he looks like a human being, but it would be better to say that he has become an important part of the state machine. If he makes a mistake or makes a mistake, the consequences will be unimaginable. So, you can't really blame him for leaving something behind. In the living room, the old lady held the hands of the Mu sisters and looked at her grandson, extremely happy. She would laugh and cry from time to time, and Lu Yunqing was also wiping her mother's tears. But no one mentioned what happened back then. Some things are in the past. Even if I mention it, it doesn't make any sense. As long as the whole family is well, it is better than anything else and stronger than anything else. Noon. Grandpa, grandma, dad, mom, uncle, aunt, and a little sister. Plus Lin Xian and the Mu sisters. The family sang birthday songs to celebrate the old man's birthday. 3 generations living under one roof, laughing and chatting. In a blink of an eye, it's December. Autumn becomes a story. Winter has become a landscape. Early in the morning, the 2 sisters started dressing up their little brother. Polished leather shoes, trousers, shirt, and windbreaker. Then he dressed Lin Xian as if he were serving a young master. Life is truly outrageously extravagant. It gave Lin Xian a way to go back to the past. It feels like a wealthy landlord. After finishing dressing up, Lin Xian looked at his 2 sisters seriously, "My beloved concubines, please kneel down." The Mu sisters looked at their younger brother with caring eyes, "Yes, Your Majesty." "Ha ha." Lin Xian laughed, hugged them, and kissed each of them. Walk out of the house happily. Driving a car, we came to the Ministry of Public Security. First we went to Lu Yan's place for a walk, and then we went to the Heavy Special Criminal Case Task Force. Life seems to be back on track again. The entire heavy special criminal case task force was completely idle and somewhat idle. It's okay for them, but it's a good thing. If you get busy, it will be scary. Boss, it's winter now, and these girls are still wearing black stockings. Aren't they cold? Zhang Shiyang's eyes shone brightly as he looked at the beautiful woman on the computer. Should I advise them to be careful about catching a cold? I advise you to mind your own business. Lin Xian leaned back on the chair and said with a smile, otherwise, it would be easy to get beaten. You are a man who is full every day, but you don't know that a man is hungry when you are hungry. Zhang Xiaoyang rolled his eyes. I feel like God is forcing me to become a Neptune. Otherwise, why haven't you given me a girlfriend yet? Then what do you think we should do? Lin Xian tilted his head and looked at him. Don't you have to find the target yourself? Isn't the point of cheating? What's the point of deceiving people? Zhang Xiaoyang humbly asked for advice. The key is to draw the cake. Lin Xian smiled and said, for example, when you see a girl, just transfer $2 to her. Zhang Xiaoyang. What kind of trick is this? Are you confused? Lin Xian smiled and said, that girl must be confused and will ask you what you mean. Then tell her that you use these 2 yuan to buy lottery tickets. If you win, it means you can bring her good luck. If you haven't won, just say that meeting you may have cost her all her luck. Otherwise, you can make 5 million to compensate for her luck, okay? That's awesome. Zhang Shiyang's eyes lit up. Is it really possible? Are you stupid? Lin Xian sighed, I'm trying to draw a cake for you. I haven't even taken care of my own wife yet. You actually believe what I say? Zhang Xiaoyang. He felt that his true emotions had been cheated. And the trust between people has been ruthlessly trampled on. It hurts so much that it's hard to breathe. Haha. The team members laughed loudly. It has to be said that Zhang Xiaoyang is definitely the second-rate person in charge of their task force. The whole day is spent either teasing or on the road to teasing. He always liked to quarrel with Lin Xian when he had nothing to do, and he would be pressed to the ground and rubbed. If I have to use one word to describe it, people are addicted to food. While everyone was laughing, Lin Xian's cell phone rang. Glancing at the caller, a warm smile appeared on his face. An unexpected person. Master, Zhao Qiang. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun Zhong. Chapter 363. Yanqing District, Criminal Investigation Brigade. Master. Lin Xian walked up to a third-level police inspector with a smile on his face. Zhao Qiang looked at the apprentice in front of him with a complicated expression. No, he has never been qualified to be someone's master. It was Lin Xian who treated him as a master and a leader. This call of master made Zhao Qiang blush a little. It's almost a year since I last saw you. When we met again, it seemed like nothing had changed. Lin Xian took out a cigarette, handed it to master, and lit it. Just like when we first met. Zhao Qiang was stunned and looked at the apprentice in front of him. I never figured out why Lin Xian was so close to him. Is it really true that once you are a teacher, you are always a father? Don't be ridiculous. But Zhao Qiang will never know. Lin Xian has been reborn. In his previous life, he was a master who was sincerely good to his disciples. He got it all with his sincerity. It's already noon. Let's go and eat first. Lin Xian said to the master. Good. Zhao Qiang smiled and nodded without refusing. The master and apprentice found a small restaurant nearby. Lin Xian ordered 4 dishes but no wine. Substitute drinks for wine. We are all police officers, so we dare not forget some rules. How are things? After the food was over, Zhao Qiang looked at his apprentice and asked with a smile. Lin Xian was transferred and went to other departments. He is clear. Lin Xian came back and said something. He said he went to the ministry. Good. Lin Xian nodded and poured the master a drink. I spend the whole day solving cases and stuff, and occasionally I do other things. That's good. Zhao Qiang didn't ask in detail, but the next moment, he showed a wry smile and said, actually, I asked you to come here because I have a case to help you take a look at. The entire brigade has seen how strong Lin Xian's criminal investigation ability is. That terrible murder was still vivid in my mind. I still remember something funny happened. At that time, everyone thought Lin Xian was a newcomer and asked him to read the files and learn. As a result, a special case was taken down, which shocked everyone. But what happened later was sealed. No one knew the details, only that the case was solved. Not to mention that Lin Xian killed a second-generation man at that time. I thought it was something big. Lin Xian's smile did not change. Take me to see you after dinner. The Special Criminal Case Task Force has no work now. Helping Master analyze the case is nothing at all. If there is a job, then I can only say sorry to Master. Which one is more serious? Lin Xian is worried about it. However, he seemed to have forgotten something. Wherever you go, your physique will show up. Had lunch. Lin Xian followed his master to the Criminal Investigation Brigade and saw some old acquaintances. Say hello, smoke and say hello one by one. The sharp-eyed old detective was a little surprised when he saw Lin Xian taking off his windbreaker. Leather shoes, suit pants, white shirt, executive jacket, with party emblem on the clothes. Who is not confused by this outfit? It's totally the look of a leader. Captain Xiang Yunpeng's eyes twitched when he saw Lin Xian. He stretched out his hand affectionately, shook hands with Lin Xian, and said jokingly, returning home in glory. Haha, hello, team. Lin Xian smiled and nodded, I miss you, I will definitely come back to see you. Everyone is so familiar with each other that there is no point in pretending. Now I can play with him. You have to start at the division level, department level, or even ministerial level. Now I really let go of my identity. Come back and see as an ordinary person. It's embarrassing. I didn't expect that old Zhao would find you back. Putting aside his smile, the captain sighed to Yunpeng, please try your best to help look at the case. We have also had a headache for several days. I will try my best, Lin Xian promised. In his previous life, this brigade was also his home. Xiang Yunpeng led a team out to investigate the case. Lin Xian and Zhao Qiang came to the office hall. He found a chair and sat down, watching his master turn on the computer and pull out an investigation report. Zhao Qiang pointed to the monitor. Lin Xian looked over. Just one glance stunned Shen'er. Criminal investigation files. Case name, suspect homicide. Case number, 10133134. Suspect's name, none yet. Time of filing, December 2, 2016. Case closing time. Unit that filed the file, Yanqing District Criminal Investigation Brigade. Those who established the scroll, Xiang Yunpeng, Zhao Qiang. When he saw the word suspicious, Lin Xian was a little confused. Whenever this word appears in a case file, it means that the case is doubtful. Meaning is, this case may or may not have happened. Isn't it very new that there is such a case? Take this case for example. A 5-year-old child said to his grandmother, Dad chopped off Mom's head. Then he also chopped off his hands and feet. Finally, I put my mother into several bags. After hearing this, Grandma almost went crazy with fright and went to look for her son. I found that my son was missing, and so was my daughter-in-law. But the son's house was clean and there was no blood stain. During the call, both the son's and daughter-in-law's cell phones were turned off. Grandma calls the police. After the police investigated, they found no signs of murder at the scene, nor did they find the murderer or the body. There were no signs or clues related to any crime scene. Everyone was stunned. The police began to suspect that someone was lying. One was a 5-year-old child, and the other was the child's grandmother. After interrogation, a psychologist was even called in to cooperate with the investigation. In the end, the 5-year-old child did not lie. But the description of his mother's injury, his father's knife, and the blood was very clear. There was one thing that was very strange. A 5-year-old child saw his father killing his mother, and he didn't seem to show any fear. He could still tell his grandmother about this matter very calmly, which was a big doubt. The psychologist could only infer that the child's psychology was different from that of ordinary people, and could not give any other explanation. Then there was the child's grandmother, who also behaved very normally. There was no sign of lying. So, the police who handled the case had a headache. They were all old criminal detectives and had been police officers for many years. It was also the first time they encountered such a strange case. You said there was no murder, but 2 people were missing. You said there was a murder, but there was no trace at the scene. The team has been investigating this case for 3 days. Nothing. When everyone was analyzing the case and chatting, Zhao Qiang thought of his apprentice Lin Xian. After all, they were master and apprentice. I wanted to see if the little guy would give me face and help me come over to take a look. As a result, Lin Xian came without saying a word. This is the cause and effect. And now Lin Xian saw this case, and he also felt a little bit of pain. He knew better than anyone what the old criminal detective of the team was capable of. They worked together in the previous life. If there was a murder, it would be impossible that there were no clues at all. But it's useless to say more now, it's just talk. Lin Xian stood up and looked at his master. Go to the scene. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Qiseung. Chapter 364. Yanqing Urban Area. Lin Xian and Zhao Qiang stepped out of the police car and entered a residential area with a beautiful environment. Along the way, Lin Xian observed his surroundings. The community in front of you belongs to a high-end residential area. Although it is outside the 6th Ring Road, the starting building size is 20,000 to 30,000 square meters. The apartments in the community look quite large. Basically, they range from 2 bedrooms and 2 living rooms to 4 bedrooms and 2 living rooms. That's what investigation is like. Not only the scene of the crime must be investigated, but also the surrounding environment of the scene. Determine something based on the environment. For example, the missing couple should have some money, not much. Ordinary people wouldn't rent the houses in this place, and most really wealthy people wouldn't buy them. Walk into a residential building, 2nd floor. A trainee police officer sat in front of a house. When he saw Zhao Qiang, he stood up quickly and shouted, "Master." Lin Xian was surprised and looked at the policeman for a few seconds. "After you leave, I will get another one." Zhao Qiang smiled and said, "I will take him with me now." Lin Xian nodded, "Hello, junior brother." The trainee policeman looked at Lin Xian curiously, a little confused. Lin Xian and Zhao Qiang didn't care either. He picked up the shoe covers and gloves from the criminal investigation box on the side and started putting them on. Enter the scene. In order not to damage the scene, the criminal investigators conducted a closed treatment. Prevent air circulation. Over time, floating dust will appear in the room, which will damage the site. After entering, you can smell a musty smell. Lin Xian, standing in the entrance hall, frowned. His super sense of smell told him, there is no smell of blood. Many people have seen Animal World. Know that some animals urinate in their territory to mark it? That's a uric acid smell that can linger in an area for a long time. Many people have also smelled the smell of blood and know that it is difficult to eliminate the smell of blood. The reason is that uric acid also exists in human blood. With Lin Xian's super sense of smell, the scene was still closed. If the smell of human blood appears within 10 days and a half, it will not escape his sense of smell. No, it can only explain one problem. There was no murder at all, no human blood. Don't talk about whether it was specially cleaned up. That uric acid smell is too difficult to get rid of. Even if there is a murderer, he would never think that someone's sense of smell is more sensitive than a dog's nose. Normally one would not be prepared for this. To prevent mistakes in your sense of smell, Lin Xian still surveyed the scene. Mainly I wanted to see if there were any signs of being cleaned at the scene. The result, no. The traces at the scene were obvious. Lin Xian's super eyesight could see traces of the life of a family of 3. We also found traces that an old man had lived in the second bedroom not long ago. Finally, determine whether there are any traces of murder. No. It proves that the investigators at that time were very careful in their investigation. Indeed, no signs of homicide were found. Let's go see the old people and the children, Lin Xian said to the master. Didn't find it. Zhao Qiang's expression was solemn. No. Lin Xian affirmed, it's not the scene of a murder. If it wasn't the crime scene. A 5-year-old child happened to say that he saw his father killing his mother at home. This explains one thing. The child is lying. There is also another possibility. Even the kid didn't know he was lying. Lin Xian has seen this situation before. Remember that time travel incident? Someone took advantage of the victim's mouth and told a huge lie. And controlling a child to lie. It's much easier than changing a person's memory. There is another important point. During the investigation, it was discovered that the child had psychological problems. A 5-year-old child. Why are you so calm when you see your father killing your mother? 3 rings. An old building in a residential area. Standing in front of an entrance door, Lin Xian knocked on the door. Not long after, a voice of questioning came from the door. Who? Female, with an old voice. Police, Lin Xian said in a gentle tone. The door opens. There was an old woman standing inside the house. He is about 50 years old. The old woman looked sad and haggard, with bloodshot eyes. It can be seen that her sleep quality has been very poor recently. Lin Xian could also hear another breathing sound in the room. The child's breath. I also heard the sound of the TV. Hello, I have something to ask you. Zhao Qiang on the side smiled and said, is it convenient? Please come in, the old woman's side. Lin Xian and Zhao Qiang walked in, and the old woman brought them slippers. Go into the hall. Lin Xian's eyes fell on the sofa and saw a child. The child sat quietly, his eyes empty and lifeless. It was as if all the energy and laughter were being held back by invisible shackles. There was no expression on the little face. Just sitting there quietly, as if isolated from the world, watching cartoons on TV. Something is wrong, Lin Xian looked surprised. Children of this age are supposed to be lively and active, and dogs have to run away when they see them, so they can't be offended. But the demeanor of the child in front of me is very abnormal. Has the child been like this before? Lin Xian looked at the old woman. It's only been like this since half a year ago. The old woman looked at her little grandson with a loving expression. I checked, and the doctor said it's normal. You call this normal? Lin Xian frowned and looked at his master. Zhao Qiang also nodded. At that time, they also found a psychologist to cooperate with the investigation, and the doctor said it was normal. It's just that the child's mental state is a little different from that of ordinary people. Lin Xian thought about it and walked to the child. The little boy raised his head and looked at Lin Xian. His eyes were straight, his little face was expressionless, and his eyes were not smart. "Hello, little friend." Lin Xian smiled and squatted in front of him. He raised his hand and a pistol appeared in his hand. The magazine was also withdrawn and handed to the little boy, and asked with a smile, "Do you like it?" The little boy looked at the gun. He raised his head and looked at Lin Xian again, shook his head, and a childish voice sounded, "I don't like it, I miss my parents." "It's so wrong." Lin Xian put away the pistol and stared at the child's face and eyes. He stood up and took out his mobile phone. He made a call. After the call was connected, he said something. "Mr. Qian, I want to ask you for a favor." More than an hour later, Mr. Qian, the master of psychology in Longguo, appeared in front of Lin Xian. When he saw the child for the first time, he was stunned. Then, he smiled and said a few words to the child. Using hypnosis induction, he conducted some psychological tests on the child. Not only that, he also used many methods to experiment on the child. In a blink of an eye, 2 hours passed. Mr. Qian looked at Lin Xian with a serious face. "It's not hypnosis." Lin Xian also knew that it was not hypnosis. If it was, the psychologist hired by the case handlers would definitely be able to see it. "Is it the child's own problem?" Lin Xian frowned. "It's not congenital." Mr. Qian's face turned cold. Someone used other means to do something to him. Lin Xian and Zhao Qiang's faces changed. The clue appeared. "Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet." Author, Qiseun Zhong. Chapter 365. Not hypnosis. Lin Xian's eyes were a little deep. "Are there any other means?" "Right." Mr. Qian's expression was solemn. "In this world, there is not only hypnosis that can control people's psychology, but also many methods. For example, brainwashing, psychological induction, and drug control methods." Lin Xian's expression changed completely. "When it comes to brainwashing, everyone is familiar with it. It is the most common form of mind control. Use some kind of ideological indoctrination to forcibly cause cognitive dysfunction in humans." This was the first time Lin Xian had heard of the psychological induction technique. Through Qian Lao's answer, I learned that it is very similar to hypnosis and brainwashing. It is a new type of psychological manipulation. Finally, there is drug control. Ever heard of Veritaserum? Qian Lao taught the students and asked with a smile. Lin Xian was stunned. "I feel like the style of painting in front of me is a bit off." "Why?" "Veritaserum only appears in movies, such as some spy movies. Use some special drugs to control some captured agents and spies and tell the truth. What if I told you, it's real, it's just disabled?" Mr. Qian smiled and said, "Are you scared?" "It's actually true." Lin Xian's body suddenly stiffened. "Doesn't this mean that as long as you have this thing, you can use it for others? Can you get all the secrets in this person's heart?" "Don't worry, most people won't use it, it's too harmful to the brain." Mr. Qian explained, Veritaserum was discovered in 1920. In fact, after injecting a special anesthetic, the person being injected will enter a special state of sedation and answer questions unconsciously. However, some researchers have found that after using truth serum, some of the injected people are not telling the truth, and it is completely ineffective for some people with mental illness and some people who have received special training. The most frightening thing is that it is extremely harmful to the brain and nerves. There have been cases of brain death, dementia, and even neurological disorders leading to mental illness. Mr. Qian shook his head. It was later banned from research and development by the international community. Brain injury. Lin Xian looked at the little boy. His symptoms are very similar, and a comprehensive examination is needed to judge. Qian Long's expression was serious, but I think the state of the child in front of me is more like brainwashing or psychological induction. Lin Xian thought for a while. Whatever it is, check it out first. The little boy was taken to the hospital and underwent a comprehensive physical examination. There is indeed nothing wrong with my body. There is a great possibility of confirming Mr. Qian's conjecture. The little boy was brainwashed or used psychological induction techniques. It is not difficult to distinguish this. All it takes is a simple hypnosis on a child to find out the truth. For the sake of her little grandson's health and for her grandson to become normal, the old woman agreed on the spot. Mr. Qian asked Lin Xian to prepare a small snack and various small toys. Also prepare some colorful small glass balls. When these things are taken out, the little boy's eyes, which were originally numb, suddenly lit up. Staring at the toys, staring at the glass balls, and swallowing saliva at the snacks. This is the nature of children. Even if you use certain means, you can't change it. It's like a man seeing a naked beauty lying in his arms. As long as he is a man, there is bound to be some reaction. Subsequently, Mr. Qian began to use snacks, toys, and colorful small glass balls to induce hypnosis in the little boy. While speaking gently, give your child snacks and toys to seduce him. About half an hour. Kids, let's play a game with Grandpa. Mr. Qian's words were like magic, stroking the child's head. Grandpa counts 1, 2, 3. You can count with Grandpa, okay. Okay, a cute children's voice sounded. 1. 1. 2. 2. Are you sleepy? Do you really want to sleep? Well, I'm so sleepy. The little boy was stunned for a moment, yawned and felt dazed. Then close your eyes, and in your dream there will be more snacks, toys, and many beautiful glass balls. Mr. Qian smiled and stroked the little boy's head. Go to sleep. An incredible scene occurred. The little boy closed his eyes, and his little body instantly went limp and fell onto the sofa. It was as if his soul had been taken away in an instant, and he lay there motionless. Except Lin Xian. Zhao Qiang and the old woman were already stunned by this scene. Is this hypnosis? Are you sure it's not magic? But it looks better like a charlatan. Mr. Qian then looked up at Lin Xian. Do you remember the technique? Take note of it. Lin Xian nodded, with a strange luster in his eyes. This old man is really persistent and has always wanted to accept him as his disciple. From the first meeting in the Magic City, he began to teach him without reservation and without any hidden secrets. It's a pity that he has chosen the path of protecting his family and country and eradicating violence and bringing peace and quiet. It is impossible to study psychology again, but the skill of hypnosis is still of great use. You can learn it. Qian Lao looked at the child on the sofa again. Caressing the child's head gently, tell Grandpa, did you see a lot of delicious food? Yes. The motionless little boy closed his eyes and spoke. What did you see? Asked Mr. Qian with a smile. Cakes, lots and lots of cakes. The little boy's mouth began to chew with relish. Delicious cakes. This scene was as if there was really cake in his mouth, eating with relish. And seeing this scene, Mr. Qian's face became more and more solemn. He began to speak slowly, but clearly. With a tiring tone and magnetism, who has given you these delicious cakes before? Many people. The little boy chewed and murmured, Dad, Mom, Grandma. Besides Dad, Mom, and Grandma, are there others? Mr. Qian asked in a gentle voice. And. The little boy was silent for 2 seconds, his mouth paused, as if he was cast with a fixed body spell. Suddenly, the little body began to tremble violently, and the eyeballs under the eyelids began to move rapidly. Following closely, his little body moved around, as if he was about to jump up. Seeing this scene, everyone's face changed. Old Qian quickly reached out and gently stroked the boy's forehead. Don't think about it, continue to eat cake, sweet cake, fun toys, and small glass balls. The little boy gradually calmed down. He started chewing something again, and a pure smile appeared on his face. But old Qian's face was so ugly and so surprised. He looked at Lin Xian and said something. Psychological induction technique, master level. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun. Chapter 366. Psychological induction technique, master level. Lin Xian was very interested. The word master is sometimes not a good word. For example, the master who likes to say if you don't follow the moral code, you will be fed with juice. But the master mentioned by Mr. Qian may be a real master. At least it refers to a person with profound attainments and a high reputation. Back to the topic. What exactly is psychological induction technique? It is very similar to hypnosis, both of which activate other people's potential beliefs and behaviors through subtle hints in words and behaviors. Mr. Qian sighed, it can manipulate psychology, applicable to various occasions and objects, and can make people unconsciously act according to the manipulator's ideas. To give an analogy, wardrobes, bookshelves, sofas, beds, when we see these things, the first thing we think of is their purpose. Wardrobes are for clothes, bookshelves are for books, sofas are for sitting, and beds are for sleeping. Who designed these things, and how did they spread to this day? Have we ever thought that in fact, some people are deliberately inducing us to make us think that these things must be like this? Yes, Lin Xian was shocked. So, is our thinking being guided by others? There is a person who is good at psychological induction. He once wanted to change my thinking and asked a question that almost made me fall into induction, and even made me unable to overturn it. Mr. Qian's face was solemn. He asked me, suppose there is such a person who can't distinguish blue and green since he was a child. He sees the sky as green and the deep forest as blue, but since he was sensible, people have told him that the color of the sky is blue and the color of the deep forest is green. So, even if the color he sees is different from the color seen by others, in his subconscious, the color should be this color, the sky is blue and the forest is green. He asked, how do you prove that you are not this person? Do you think the color you see must be right? Finally, he asked me this question in a different concept. Ask me, have you ever thought that the colors in people's eyes are actually different, just like the world is different in everyone's eyes? It's just to facilitate our human identification and communication, so we use the same name for everything we see. He said, since no one can see the world in other people's eyes, who can be 100% sure that what you see is definitely true? Mr. Qian's words stunned Lin Xian. But suddenly, he regained consciousness. No. My thinking was misled. Some things seem to make sense and seem indistinguishable. But there are too many things that can be distinguished in many ways. It's just that we didn't think about it, let alone distinguish it. Instead, we believed what this person said and became suspicious, instead of studying right and wrong. It's like someone deliberately said, what you see is what the country lets you see, and you are actually a slave. It seems to make sense, making you think it's worth pondering. Have you ever thought about why he said this? With what kind of mentality and purpose did he tell you this? Have you ever thought that this sentence is actually a kind of thinking induction? Why does he use words to induce you and make you feel that you are a slave enslaved by the country? Is he really doing good for you? Some people also say, 10 years of hard study is not as good as a generation of people carrying guns. Who said this? Have you ever thought about it? Why didn't your elders carry guns, but other people's elders carried guns? Since carrying guns is so good, why don't your elders go? And you envy the second generation and that second generation. Are their ancestors born second generation? If not, why are their families better than yours? Did they all come out of thin air? You are angry, unwilling, complaining, and blaming others. Have you ever thought that you were this kind of person from the beginning? Then is there such a possibility? You have seen a lot of things that others deliberately induced you to see, and heard a lot of words that others deliberately let you hear. Someone is deliberately induced you. Make you feel unfair. Make you feel that the world is dark. Make you resent your own country. Make you question the world. Even make you go to extremes. Cold sweat instantly broke out on Lin Xian's back. Qian Lao's words made him think of too much. Think of. Every moment, people are unconsciously induced. Even we ourselves don't know that we are induced, thinking that this is the norm, thinking that it is the way it is. If this kind of inducement is used to guide people to the light, then it can be used to strengthen the country and the people. If this kind of induction is used to pull people into darkness, then it can make people fall into hell. What a terrible psychological induction technique. Why is it terrible? Just like hypnosis, it can only be used on one person, a few people, or dozens of people. But psychological induction, it can be used on the whole people, on a country, and on the world. To change the direction of a race. Isn't it terrible? Where is the person you are talking about? Lin Xian's eyes flashed with undisguised murderous intent. Why do you want to kill? Because this person has an evil mind. What he said is just like the example Lin Xian just gave. He is tempting people to fall into darkness and misleading people's three views. He has already stood on the opposite side of the world and mankind. But he has mastered terrible abilities that he should not have. Such people cannot be kept dead. Old Qian sighed. He has begun to doubt whether this world is real and wants to verify it himself. I didn't even see him for the last time. He died in the mountains. Lin Xian breathed a sigh of relief and noticed old Qian's sadness. He is your old friend. Not my old friend. Old Qian's expression gradually became complicated. Strictly speaking, he is your senior brother. Lin Xian was surprised. It turned out to be old Qian's disciple. Then, Lin Xian sent old Qian away. However, before leaving, old Qian told Lin Xian the sentence, "Never question your dreams, be firm in your heart." Watching old Qian get in the car, Lin Xian stood there for a long time. He could feel old Qian's worry. Because the old man said it? That child was controlled by a master-level psychological guide. Although Mr. Qian had used hypnosis to guide the child's psychology. However, he was worried that Lin Xian would also be guided. Because he knew that Lin Xian would definitely find this psychological guide. This is a very scary thing. Thanks, teacher. Lin Xian smiled and murmured when he came back to his senses. When he turned around, the smile on his face had disappeared. Psychological guide? Then let me see how scary you are. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Qiseun Zhong. Chapter 367. Lin Xian frowned and looked at the lively and laughing 5-year-old boy in the living room. The child has completely recovered and was given psychological treatment by Qian Laoli using hypnosis. It only takes a while to recuperate and he will become a normal child again. But that doesn't mean what happened to the little boy will go away. Lin Xian moved his eyes to look at the happy old woman beside him. We need to have a nice chat. If you want to use psychological induction to induce a child, it cannot be accomplished in a short time. Can strangers approach the child without the consent of the child's relatives? Still have a question. Are the old woman's son and daughter-in-law really dead? Is it true that the child said that his father killed his mother? This is the terrible thing about psychological induction. It's not like hypnosis, which instills some thoughts in you. It is inducing one to imagine. For example, Lin Xian is sitting on the sofa at this time. The inertia of thinking is that the sofa is just for sitting. The little boy said that his father killed his mother, and that was what he thought. That's why the police investigating the case couldn't distinguish the boy's words. But one thing is for sure. It is impossible for two living people to disappear into thin air. Whether they are dead or alive, they will leave traces. If there are no traces, it can only explain one problem. Someone is deliberately erasing traces. My son runs a company, and my daughter-in-law takes care of the children every day. The old woman began to tell. In a word, her son worked hard, started from scratch, had tens of millions of assets, married a wife and had children. The whole process was normal. Make key points. The old woman had never seen a stranger touch the child. I have never seen strangers use words to induce strange things to children. Lin Xian stared at the old woman with bright eyes. Identify her eyes, expression, and heartbeat. No lies. Mr. Qian also tested the old woman and was not psychologically induced. It shows that the old woman's words are credible. That's where things get weird. Did the child's parents perform some kind of psychological induction on the child? Is there a master psychological counselor among the child's parents? Zhao Qiang handed over the mobile phone. There are profiles of the child's parents on the phone. Lu Bo, 32 years old, from Beijing. Jian Yunting, 31 years old, from other provinces. Through their academic qualifications, it was found that they had no knowledge of psychology, nor did they have any experience in learning psychological induction techniques. Lin Xian didn't stay much longer. Nothing could be found on the old woman and child. He and Zhao Qiang returned to the home of Lu Bo and Jian Yunting. This time, it wasn't to investigate whether a homicide had occurred. Instead, they were investigating whether there were any traces of psychological induction techniques. Some environments can change people's psychology. Likewise, the environment can also reveal a person's psychology. For example, a person who is hardworking and loves cleanliness will have a clean home. People who are lazy and unhygienic will also have a sloppy home. What the police are best at is trying to figure out the psychological activities of criminals. They will use any means to study the psychology of criminals. Only by understanding the psychology of criminals can we catch them before they do. Otherwise, you will have no choice but to be led by the criminals. When I first met you, I had a suspicion. Zhao Qiang looked at the apprentice investigating the scene with dark eyes. You are an old criminal investigator. Master is really good at reading people. Don't look at people like this next time. Lin Xian almost laughed. So I was so powerful back then. More than awesome. Zhao Qiang teased with a smile in his eyes. Your criminal investigation ability at that time scared everyone in our brigade. Ha ha. Lin Xian laughed, but his eyes were looking at the big bed in the bedroom. Sure enough, people have to lower their heads to eat and hide their merit and fame. Those who stand out will always die the fastest. However, no matter what abnormality appears on him now, no one dared to do anything to him. He punched this out with his own fists and earned it with his own hard work. Huh. Lin Xian paused and stared at the two pillows on the bed. What did you find? Zhao Qiang's eyes instantly became sharp, staring at the big bed and the two pillows. This couple has a problem. Lin Xian gave a positive statement. They don't often sleep together. Zhao Qiang. He looked at his apprentice as if he had seen a ghost. Like asking again, how did you see it? The pillows and sheets should have been bought a long time ago. Lin Xian pointed to the big bed, but it's very clean. We men can fade. Zhao Qiang. A sudden realization. It's true that men fall off. No matter how much a man likes to be clean, areas where he has slept for a long time will turn yellow. This is a normal physiological phenomenon. Men are born with high levels of male hormones and strong secretion of sebum and oil. As time goes by, pillows, sheets, quilts, no one will be spared. Zhao Qiang twisted the pillowcase with his gloved hands and his pupils shrank. This pillowcase has been used for at least more than half a year. There are signs of frequent cleaning. The person who washed the pillowcase should be a clean person and a good person. However, no signs of yellowing were found on the pillows, sheets, or quilt covers, whether on the left or right side. It means that the couple has not shared the same bed for a long time or has been sharing the same bed for a long time. But it is normal for some couples to sleep in separate rooms, which does not mean anything. But Lin Xian could not tell his master. He did not smell any male scent on this bed at all. Instead, he smelled a strange body odor. The body odor of two women sleeping in the same bed for a long time. A strange problem appeared. When Lin Xian first came to investigate the scene, he did find traces of the family of three living. He also found traces of the old woman coming to live from time to time. Assumption. This family of three is two women and a child, and the old woman occasionally comes to live. Is there something missing? Where is the man? Why is he gone? Why is there no trace of the man? Where did the suspect Lu Bo go? Lin Xian's expression became strange and he continued to investigate. He started collecting in the gaps at the head of the bed, under the mattress, in the corners, and on the sofa. Collect hair, collect scalp, collect nails, and collect all the things that fell from the human body. He also called a forensic doctor to conduct a scene inspection. Finally, he came to a conclusion. There has been no trace of a man in this house for a long time. Then, Lin Xian went to the old woman again and asked, "When was the last time you saw your son?" The old woman was stunned for a long time and murmured, "He often goes on business trips and calls me." Stop. Lin Xian stared into the old woman's eyes. "I'm asking you, when was the last time you saw your son?" The old woman fell into memories and finally gave an answer. "More than half a year ago." Lin Xian and Zhao Qiang looked at each other and sneered. Another abnormality appeared. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun Zhong. Chapter 368. Although the abnormality appeared, strange things happened one after another. The criminal investigation team had already investigated the suspect couple in the past 3 days. They also went to the suspect Lu Bo's company for investigation. According to the employees' oral statements, Lu Bo went to work every day before the incident. He rarely had social events after get off work and would go home early. In the eyes of the employees, this is a very good boss who is also very family-oriented. Why do you still say it is strange? Because when Lin Xian took out Lu Bo's photo and let all the employees take a look, these employees actually told him the person in the photo is not their boss, and they have never seen him. Never seen. Lin Xian and Zhao Qiang were stunned. Is it a ghost? All employees don't know their own boss. Do you dare to believe it? Lin Xian believed it. Through investigation again, all the employees in this company were recruited within 6 months. The company bosses they saw were all bosses they saw within 6 months. They did not see what the boss looked like 6 months ago. And this boss told them that his name was Lu Bo. Then the boss they saw was Lu Bo. Through subtle influence, others will think that the boss today is the boss in the past. Psychological induction. Is there a fake Lu Bo who replaced the real Lu Bo in the past? Zhao Qiang's face was quite surprised, and he felt a little incredible. Maybe it's not a replacement. Lin Xian's eyes were dark, like a deep pool. There is another possibility that someone deliberately created an illusion to make others think that Lu Bo has always been there. Maybe, Lu Bo was gone half a year ago. Such reasoning is also based on facts. Lu Bo's mother hasn't seen her son for more than half a year. In the past 6 months, there is a Lu Bo who often calls the old woman. He said he was on a business trip and busy, but he never showed up. On the contrary, the company's employees said that the boss went to work every day. He would go home after work and was very family-oriented. This is very contradictory. There is also the weirdest point. Lin Xian found traces of 3 people's lives after investigating Lu Bo and his wife's home. It is indeed a family of 3, a man, a woman, and a child, not 2 women and 1 child. The strange thing is that the body odor of 2 women sleeping together for a long time was smelled on the bed. Could this LV Bo transform? At the same time, the DNA test results from the forensic doctor have come out. The hair, nails, dandruff, and other items collected by Lin Xian were used for identification. They came from 2 women respectively. Lin Xian went to the home of LV Bo and his wife again. The third round of investigation and inspection began again. After 3 hours, a new conclusion was drawn. There was a woman who pretended to be a man. On weekdays, all the items she used, slippers, toothbrushes, pajamas, and various things, were men's things. Or in other words, she was living a man's lifestyle. But her body was a woman's, and a woman's body odor could not be changed. So there was no trace of a man on the bed in the bedroom. It would also create a false impression. It looked like a family of 3 was living together. In fact, it was 2 girls and a child living together. Then, the Criminal Investigation Brigade made another new discovery. It was an investigation report on the suspect LV Bo's company. Lu Bo's company is very profitable. Under normal circumstances, Lu Bo's assets should be several hundred million. Didn't they say that he only has tens of millions of assets? Let me give you an analogy. The more money a person makes, the higher the tax he pays. It's like a company boss. He only holds 5% of the company's shares, but he can control the entire company. Because he only has 5% of the shares, he only needs to pay 5% tax. In fact, he can get 70% or even 100% of the money. Except for that 5%, the rest of the money doesn't have to be taxed. People who understand tax avoidance should know what's going on. For example, those richest people we see on the surface have a net worth of tens of billions or hundreds of billions. If I tell you that their real wealth may be more than hundreds of billions, or even trillions, would you be shocked? Because you can only see the money of these richest people on the surface, but you can't see the money hidden behind. If they dare to bring that money to the surface, they will have to pay taxes. So, those so-called richest people seen by ordinary people, just treat it as a joke. You have no idea who the truly wealthy people in this world are, and how much wealth they have. That's why Lu Bo's apparent assets are only tens of millions. In fact, he may have earned hundreds of millions, or even billions. But all this money is gone. Except for Lu Bo himself, no one else knows where it is. Now, even Lu Bo has disappeared. Lin Xian has begun to suspect. Maybe Lu Bo disappeared half a year ago. Someone is trying to deceive people. But Lin Xian inexplicably felt a little uneasy. I feel that this case is getting more and more wrong. The more I investigate, the bigger it gets, and the more I investigate, the more biased it becomes. I began to have a bad feeling in my heart. Is this the rhythm of another big thing? Now the power of the Criminal Investigation Brigade alone is not enough. Lin Xian sighed. Dial Wang Meng's cell phone and say, notify the team members that there is a case that needs to be investigated. Wang Meng cursed directly, you touched the case, when did it happen? What kind of reaction is this? Wang Meng's reaction made Lin Xian speechless. What kind of physique do you have? Don't you have any idea? Wang Meng's tone was as if he was disgusted by eating shit. It seems that, maybe, Lin Xian didn't say anything. Physiological death has not been achieved yet. But social death has reached the standard. It seems that after rebirth, he really bombed wherever he went. There is no small case for any case he touches. One is bigger than the other, and one is more terrifying than the other. Originally, when Master Zhaoqiang found him, he didn't care much. But now, pill. Half an hour later, the entire special criminal case team appeared in front of Lin Xian. When Lin Xian introduced them to everyone, the people of the Criminal Investigation Brigade were stunned. Not only them, but also the leaders of the Municipal Bureau came over. When Zhao Qiang and others saw a group of people in white shirts greet Lin Xian with a smile and took the initiative to shake hands. It was like they were welcoming a leader. They were stunned. The special criminal case team announced that they would take over the case, and those people in white shirts left. Everyone is so familiar with each other, you don't feel any pleasure in pretending to be cool, right? Zhao Qiang looked at his apprentice and smiled bitterly. Master, I'm really not pretending to be cool. Lin Xian didn't know whether to laugh or cry, it's just that I've been doing better recently. How good? Zhao Qiang asked with a smile, tell the truth to the master, what level are you now? First level police inspector, Director Lin Xian told the truth. Zhao Qiang was stunned, looking at his apprentice with a dull expression. Let you meet at the top, but don't let you cheat. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Qiseun Zhong. Chapter 369. Looking at Zhao Qiang's expression of seeing an alien, Lin Xian couldn't help but want to laugh. Zhao Qiang did not laugh. He reached out and patted Lin Xian on the shoulder, thank you for your hard work. Don't you doubt that I am a second generation, Lin Xian asked with a smile. You can doubt Master's IQ, but Master is not stupid. Zhao Qiang said humorously, only the second generation family would dare to play like this unless they are crazy. In the Dragon Kingdom, even if the background reaches the sky. Who dares to create a 22-year-old virgin? If you are not crazy, you have to think about how this 22-year-old appeared. That's more than just risking your life. Others may be playing with one life, but you have to take 3 lives, or even 10 lives, to get it. Lin Xian looked at the master's leaving figure and sighed. I am very satisfied that I can still be a master and apprentice in this life. As the Special Criminal Case Task Force took over the investigation of the case, it only took half a day to find 3 clues and doubts. First, the company of the suspect Lu Bo does not have any surveillance, and there is also no surveillance in the community where the suspect and his wife live and in the residential building. Are the couple deliberately avoiding surveillance and why? Second, if Lin Xian's reasoning is true, the suspect Lu Bo had disappeared half a year ago. However, through bank statements, online banking records, and ID card usage information, we can find that someone has been using it frequently in the past 6 months. If Lu Bo disappeared half a year ago, who was using his identity and online banking? Third, through interviews, some neighbors discovered that in the past 6 months, the suspect Jian Yunting often went out with her child in her arms and came back very late. If a housewife doesn't stay at home and take care of her children, and leaves early and comes back late all day long, where does she go? Head, I found something wrong. Zhan Xiaoyang walked to Lin Xian carrying his laptop and said, find a QQ. Who's QQ? Lin Xian's eyes lit up. It's certain it's the suspect couple, but I don't know who it belongs to. Zhan Xiaoyang opened his laptop and retrieved a QQ chat message. He locked the QQ through the suspect's network IP and then compared the IP address with the QQ company's big data. Maybe ordinary people don't know. Whenever you use chat tools such as QQ or WeChat, your chat information and IP address will be uploaded to the big data of QQ and WeChat. Since it is not a real name system, the network IP is fixed. Because ordinary people rarely understand certain tools for changing IP. So if you want to lock your tip, it is very simple. As for the content of the chat history, whether it is QQ chat content, WeChat chat content, or communication chat software, if you delete it, even if you cancel the account, it will be of no use. As long as the server is in China, the police can see your chat content anytime and anywhere. Of course, the premise is that you have been involved in the case before the police have the right to check. If you are not involved in the case, no one can view your personal privacy. This is illegal. Lin Xian took a look at the suspected QQ and found that he didn't have many friends. There are only 2 friends on it. There are even fewer chat messages. There are only so many. But these few pieces of information are very strange. No words, no voice, just expressions. 4 months ago. Suspect, crying face emoticon. Friends, patting the head emoticon. 3.5 months ago. Suspect, crying face emoticon. Friends, crying face emoticon. 2 months ago. Suspect, smiley emoticon. Friends, patting the head emoticon. 5 days ago. The day before this case occurred. Suspect, OK expression. Friend, OK emoticon. Lin Xian stared at the expression and analyzed the meaning of the QQ expression. I pondered for a long time. Lin Xian looked at Zhang Xiaoyang. Has your friend's QQ address been locked? Zhang Xiaoyang nodded, but the other party's QQ is even better. He only has one friend of the suspect, and his IP address has changed several times, all in this city. There are gyms, coffee shops, they are all public places, and there is no fixed address. The awareness of counter-reconnaissance is very strong. Where was the IP address 5 days ago? Lin Xian asked quickly. Zhang Xiaoyang gave a positive answer. A certain gym. 9 in the morning. Outside a certain gym, Lin Xian took a look and walked in. Hello sir. When the waitress at the front desk saw Lin Xian, her eyes brightened. Are you here for fitness? Police. Guo Su on the side took out his police card. The face of the front desk waitress changed. Tell me, how is the monitoring of the gym managed? Lin Xian looked at the waitress and asked with a smile, is there free Wi-Fi? This. The waitress thought for a while and said, the manager is responsible for the management. I don't know very well. Not long time. A female manager wearing yoga pants and a vest was called over. Take me to see your surveillance. Lin Xian stared into the other person's eyes. The female manager's expression changed slightly and she said with a smile, isn't this good? Guests have privacy. I handcuff him, Lin Xian said in a casual tone. Without saying a word, Guo Su took out the handcuffs and cuffed the female manager whose expression changed greatly. Asking you one last time. Lin Xian looked at the pale-faced female manager, where is the management monitoring place? The female manager lowered her head and honestly took Lin Xian and Guo Su into the gym. Walked to an office. When passing by a group of people who were working out, they looked at the handcuffed female manager in surprise, not understanding what was going on. Arrived at the office. The female manager looked at a computer on the desk. Zhang Xiaoyang walked over, took a few glances, and nodded to Lin Xian. At this moment, the door of the office was suddenly knocked open. Several muscular men rushed in, and they should be coaches judging by their attire. A young and middle-aged man with tasteful clothes followed behind. Who are you? The young and middle-aged man had a cold face and glanced at Lin Xian and others. Police. Guo Su frowned and took out his police ID again. Is the police so great? The young and middle-aged man was very arrogant. Do you have a search warrant? Just come in and rummage through things. Is this fake wine? Lin Xian was calm, but Guo Su and Zhang Xiaoyang looked at the young man as if he were an idiot. For a long while. Do you need to call the police? Lin Xian smiled and said, I'm a professional. Everyone. Zhang Xiaoyang burst into laughter. Guo Su couldn't help laughing. The young man's face kept changing and he waved his hand. The group of muscular men rushed towards Lin Xian and the other two. Assaulting the police? Lin Xian smiled even more. In just one encounter, two muscular men were knocked down by Guo Su. In the blink of an eye, the other three muscular men all lay down. Guo Su picked up the pale young man and came to Lin Xian. Tell me. Lin Xian looked into the other's eyes, what are you afraid of being seen? The middle-aged man looked pale and lowered his head. Lin Xian and his two subordinates looked at each other. This is something. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun Zhong. Chapter 370. There is indeed something going on. Zhang Xiaoyang discovered a lot of surveillance video footage of the women's locker room in the gym. Various videos of women changing clothes. My brother is awesome, Lin Xian and others looked at the young and middle-aged man like a god. Our role model is really not afraid of being beaten. But Lin Xian didn't come here to have sex with his wife. Zhang Xiaoyang retrieved the surveillance video from 5 days ago. By the way, retrieve the fitness gym's wireless Wi-Fi access records from 5 days ago. Then, he locked onto a woman. Lin Xian and others were a little surprised when they saw this woman. That physique, really strong. He is 1.734 meters tall and has short hair. It looks like a man? Lin Xian suddenly thought of something. At the suspect's home, he smelled the body odor of two women on the bed. Could it be her? Lin Xian asked Zhang Xiaoyang to grab a surveillance photo of this woman. Specifically capture photos of faces and send them to Wang Meng. Ask Wang Meng to go to the suspect Lu Bo's company to inquire. As a result, the employees actually said that this person was their boss. Lu Bo. Lin Xian laughed. Interesting. There was a woman who disguised herself as a man without being discovered by the employees. Moreover, this woman also impersonated a suspect. The woman's identity information was found by Zhang Xiaoyang from the citizen database. Cao Xin, female, 29 years old, from Beijing. Capture. Lin Xian issued a wanted order to all major case handling units of the Beijing police. At this moment, Lu Changjiang called, "Boss, I found a body." Lin Xian's expression changed. Something is going to happen. The crime occurred in the community, outside the residential building and in front of the septic tank. Lu Changjiang and Li Long were squatting there, watching two forensic doctors recover a skeleton. How did you find out? Lin Xian was numb and looked at Lu Changjiang. When I went downstairs to buy cigarettes, I saw a community owner leading a dog. Lu Changjiang quickly reported, the dog was barking at the septic tank, and the owner couldn't pull it away, so he thought it was strange. I walked over to take a look and found that there were trampling marks on the lawn outside the septic tank, and they were adult footprints. I observed it and found that the depth of the footprints was obviously wrong. It was heavier than a normal person, and I also found something was wrong. A normal person would run to the septic tank when nothing happens. He is still an adult, but his footprints are lingering near the septic tank, and the cover of the septic tank clearly shows signs of being tampered with. I reasoned that someone came to the septic tank with a heavy object, opened the cover, and threw something into it. So who in the right mind would throw anything, or heavy objects, into a septic tank? Lu Changjiang's face turned ugly. In our line of work, we all know what can be hidden in septic tanks. If we find something suspicious, we must investigate it. The result? They are the police, so what can a septic tank hide? Corpse. This is professionalism. Lin Xian stretched out his thumb and looked at the salvaged skeleton. Male skeleton. Lin Xian frowned. How lucky are you? Indeed, they got lucky. Through DNA identification and comparison. it was confirmed that the deceased was the suspect Lubo. The autopsy of the skeleton confirmed that the time of death was more than half a year. Died from blunt force blow to the brain, causing craniocerebral injury. However, through on-site inspection, no fighting or blood was found. Through the investigation of the footprints left at the scene, it was confirmed that they were from 6 months ago. Finally, through various signs, it was confirmed that it was the scene where the body was dumped. Lin Xian looked at the footprints on the lawn in front of him. Although half a year has passed, the footprints are still clearly visible because there was no damage and the soil is soft. Shoe size 39, women's shoes. The shoe size and foot shape are exactly the same as those of another suspect and the victim's wife, Jian Yunting. Ji Yang found a women's shoe from the suspect's home and used it for comparison. Confirmed to be this pair of shoes. Wife kills husband, Lin Xian's face was gloomy. Think back to the origin of this case. A 5-year-old child told his grandma that he saw his father kill his mother. But now, the whole case has been completely reversed. It turned out that the wife killed her husband and hid the body in the septic tank. That's okay. The person who called the old woman in the past 6 months was definitely not Lubo, but someone else. This person is also using Lubo's identity, online banking, and other things. This case also involves psychological induction. Is it really just a simple case of wife murdering husband? Lin Xian felt a chill in his heart, and his expression kept changing. I had a bad premonition. Suddenly he said, inspect all the septic tanks in the community. Everyone was confused. But since Lin Xian gave the order, they also started investigating. Result. Another corpse was discovered, a female corpse, already highly decomposed. But it can be identified that the deceased is the suspect Jian Yunting. The faces of everyone in the task force changed. Jian Yunting also died from a heavy blow to the head, and the septic tank was also the scene where her body was dumped. And I saw a pair of size 39 shoes, women's shoes, again outside the septic tank. Jian Yunting's shoes. Killed her husband and then killed herself? Don't make trouble. It means that someone wearing Jian Yunting's shoes not only killed her husband, but also killed her. Throw the couple's bodies into the septic tank of the community. The operation is a bit suffocating. Lin Xian thought of the female suspect Cao Xian found in the gym. Is it her? Boss, the suspect Cao Xian has been found. Wang Meng ran over with an ugly face, she was killed. Damn, everyone wanted to swear. There was even a chilling feeling in their hearts. Haha, we can't have fun, right? Lin Xian grinned and murmured, playing to silence people. Then, everyone arrived at the place where Cao Xian died. In a rental house, a female corpse was lying on the ground. Lin Xian squatted in front of the female corpse and wrinkled his nose a few times. The body odor matched. On the bed in the suspect's home, the body odor of another woman was Cao Xian's. Lu Changjiang began the autopsy and roughly deduced that the time of death was no more than a week. In other words, when the police just took over the investigation of this case, the other party might still be alive. Cao Xian's death was still caused by severe head trauma. The murder weapon was still placed aside, a large dumbbell. There were no fingerprints at the scene, but there were shoe prints. After investigating the footprints, a weird thing happened. Shoe size 39, women's shoes, Jian Yunting's shoes. Everyone present, including Lin Xian himself, was stunned. What a joke. The shoe prints left at the 2 corpse dumping sites and 1 murder scene were all from the same person, and they were all Jian Yunting's shoes. Jian Yunting was also dead, and her body was dumped in a septic tank. Is this a ghost? If not, who else went to Jian Yunting's home, who could go to her home? Wearing her shoes, and killing 3 people in a row? An incredible expression appeared on Lin Xian's face. A figure also appeared in his head. Could it be her?